What's going on, guys? This is Oliver, formerly from Response AI and a few other software tools that I've since exited. In this video, I'm going to talk about Lovable and how to master Lovable in a very short period of time. I spent thousands of hours using Lovable. The last, I think, 5 tools that I've built and I've enjoyed and I've sold to customers, and they've loved the tools, have been pretty much solely built on Lovable. If I ever needed to do something a bit more complex, I typically export it and then use Cursor and that kind of thing, but just for little tweaks here and there. Now, Lovable is a tool that basically allows you to build apps with natural language. So I literally sit there and do text to, speech to text on my Mac, and I just talk about what I want and it builds it, right? You describe what you want and Lovable's agent builds it for you. This is a sort of significant evolution from the conventional no-code platforms where you drag and drop and stuff. Instead of relying on this visual canvas with these pre-built elements, Lovable basically builds things from the ground up with some kind of conversational interface. This is known as vibe coding, basically, and the focus of this video is articulating how you guys can build anything you want by just talking to Lovable. Now, success on the platform is correlated with the user's ability to act as a product manager. So you define features, constraints, user flows, that kind of thing, and the closer you can get to perfection with regards to describing it, the better. And I'll be explaining how to do that perfectly in this video. This suggests that the future of development with tools like Lovable will elevate skills that are more things like thinking and systems thinking and logical decomposition and communication. And it's more important now, I believe, than coding. So Lovable, the reason I want to recommend Lovable is because it offers this robust sort of GitHub integration. It stops you guys from getting locked in. So you have complete ownership over your code. You can track changes using version control with GitHub. And basically it's just an environment where you can build whatever you want and then you own every step. It doesn't lock you in. Now, should I use Lovable? It depends, right? For non-technical founders and entrepreneurs, this is the primary audience that Lovable has gone for. It provides a direct path for founders to build and validate their ideas without the significant cost of hiring an entire team or outsourcing it, or even, starting from scratch with how to learn, how to write JavaScript, and it's a 7-hour YouTube video. You can just do it by talking to it, right? Designers also, the platform acts as this bridge between design integrations. So like things like Figma, you can just design stuff on Figma, then send it to Lovable, and it allows you to test those user flows and create a flow on Lovable that your users are going to go through without actually having to code. So starting a project from a blank slate to advanced methods. So the most direct method to build these apps is to type a detailed description of what you want into the main prompt box. Now, this is the conventional starting point where you articulate your vision for the app. So as you can see, for the app I built in my last video, I just said, make me a Twitter scheduling tool and a landing page, etc. You can also use image prompts. So for those who think visually, I'm quite a visual person. I like seeing what I'm going to make. Lovable can generate projects from an image or from screenshots. So if you prefer to upload wireframes or even draw what you want on a piece of paper, you can upload it and then Lovable will use that wireframe to create the structure and generate what it needs to create that sort of starting point for you. Now, remixing is very important. It's when you can actually take a project that you've already built and just remix it. So as you can see on the right, pretty much all of my tools start with a remixed project of the same landing page that I really like using. So it's just Inter font at the top. It's just a call to action, and then it's some kind of video. So as you can see, for my training, which is start, scale, exit, it's literally the same landing page as the one I built for the Twitter scheduler example app that we built this week. The feature allows you to create a complete copy of any public project or one of your own. So if you want a nice project from scratch, you can just find Lovable projects to remix. And it's an excellent method for learning from others' work or iterating on a previous idea without basically like starting from scratch. Now, if a project has an active Supabase integration, they can't be remixed. So make sure that you haven't connected them, or make sure that you disconnect Supabase first. Now, understanding the core modes. So when to use chat versus agent. I'm going to show you guys how to save loads of money here as well. Default agent modes. This is the active build modes. When a prompt is submitted, Lovable's agent just analyzes the requests, formulates the plan, and just executes it, right? Actions in this mode consume a variable number of credits, but the cost scales based off of the complexity of what you've asked it to do. Now, chat mode, this is a sort of newer function that acts as a conversational thinking partner or a strategic session that you're going through with the AI to actually plan it, right? So in chat mode, the AI will discuss ideas with you, analyze, problems, debug errors, outline a step-by-step implementation. It is the ideal environment for refining the prompts and validating the AI's approach before actually committing credits to building it. So what I've done before is I've said what I wanted. It is planned the most ridiculous thing that I didn't want. It just misinterpreted what I wanted, and I could have wasted dozens of credits on it building the wrong thing because I didn't do chat mode first. Each message sent in chat mode is just 1 credit. So instead of it costing like variably 3 credits or half a credit or 7 credit, whatever, after agreeing on a plan, you can just carry on, but it only costs 1 credit to create the most beautiful plan before you actually start. Now, many users they complain about high credit consumption and the AI making unintended changes. The platform's troubleshooting guides advise to use chat mode early and often because this validates the AI's plan before execution and obviously thereby avoiding mistakes and credits being wasted on broken builds. The most effective workflow for this, guys, is not to simply prompt and hope for the best, but to engage in a strategic cycle as if you are working with a real human. So plan in chat mode as if you're, around a table doing doodles and saying, look, this is what we're going to do. What do you think? You can ask it for opinions. Do you think we should do this or that? Beginners who fail to grasp this nuance, they're most likely to burn through all the credits. And I want you guys to save as many credits as possible. Now, publishing and deployment. So there's a one-click publish button, and it just allows you to deploy your application to a live URL. But the URL is typically like something.lovable.app. It's like a bit of an ugly one. Custom domains. I don't use this because I use domains with pork bun, and then I just set up the DNS servers, and you can also republish things. So remember that any changes that you make in your project after the initial deployment, they're not live until you click publish. You've got to publish everything you do. Now, let's talk about building fast and saving money. So the C.L.E.A.R framework, our checklist for success. So Lovable's team, they officially recommend the C.L.E.A.R framework, where I'm going to explain to you what this is now. Adhering to the 5 principles I'm about to show you increases the likelihood of the AI understanding what you want and not wasting credits. So concise. So the C in C.L.E.A.R framework, be direct and to the point. Instead of saying, could you make a button for me? A better prompt is create a primary call to action button with the text sign up now. Logical, right? Rather than asking for a user sign up feature, instruct the AI to do one at a time. So you've got to structure complex requests in a sequential step-by-step manner. Don't attempt to build loads of unrelated things all at once, because the AI is going to potentially make mistakes because it's switching context constantly. If you said, can you design a landing page with some images on the landing page? It's going to be much easier than saying, can you design a landing page and connect to the Twitter API? Because those are 2 pretty difficult things to do and to wrap up into one prompt. Explicit. So leave no room for ambiguity or assumption, because the AI will assume things and then create what you don't want, but it didn't know what you didn't want because you didn't tell it, right? So provide specific details, about the technology stack, desired output formats, negative constraints. So do not use this or do not add this, and it'll be fine. Adaptive. If the AI's initial output is not perfect, adapt your approach. You can go back to chat mode and say, I didn't really like what you guys did there. I think we should have done this or done that. The form you created is missing a password confirmation, whatever it may be. This is a key part of the workflow, and you can save credits by talking about its mistakes in chat mode instead of agent, because if you just try and polish it over by asking it to do stuff again, it's just going to burn through credits. Now, reflective. After each interaction, take a moment to analyze what worked well, what didn't, and note what you liked about the structure or what level of detail that you gave Lovable to produce the best results. Now, for more complex requests, Lovable suggests a structured training wheels format that ensures the AI receives all the necessary info. So for context, you've got to set the stage and assign a role to the AI. So you are a senior backend developer specializing in authentication systems. The task is build a full stack to-do list app. The guidelines are use X for the front end, Tailwind for this, or whatever it may be, Supabase for the back end. And obviously, Lovable will bias to what it's been kind of hard-coded to build with. But you can obviously talk about the back end or talk about what kind of font you want to use, that kind of thing. Constraints. State any hard limits. So the final application must be mobile responsive and never edit the X file or whatever it may be. So basically, you've just got to tell it exactly what you don't want it to do and it will listen. Incrementally, you should avoid the temptation of building your entire application in one massive, all-encompassing, ugly, like long prompt, right? Build one feature at a time. And if you're going to build more than one at a time, make sure that it's refined in a way that the features are at least similar. So prompt for the navigation bar first. Once that's working, prompt for the hero section. Once that's working, the feature grid, whatever it may be. And that's just for the landing page. For the dashboard, it could be the filters and then the sidebar and then this and then that. The modular approach makes it significantly easier to isolate issues when they come up and debug them. Now, grouping small fixes. Because every message sent to the AI has a minimum credit cost, it's inefficient to send multiple separate prompts for minor UI adjustments. To do this, I actually just take it from the platform and use something like Cursor because it can do all these batch changes for much cheaper than an entire credit on Lovable. If you need to change a color, adjust some padding, fix a typo, it's more cost effective to batch these small fixes into one well-structured prompt, or like I said, export it and use Cursor's free month of auto for free. Now, when the application breaks, a vague prompt like, oh, I don't like this, it's broken, or you messed up, or like cursing at it or whatever, the most effective way to debug is to open your web browser's developer console. So you click, right click and then inspect element, and then copy the specific error message provided, then paste it into Lovable. This gives the AI the precise technical context it needs to actually diagnose the problem. And to do this, guys, you need to make sure that inside your prompts you say, once you've done this, also add debugging and logging, because otherwise the console won't say anything. Visual prompting. Using screenshots and designs as a blueprint. So a powerful workflow that I always talk about on the channel is to find a design you like on Dribbble or Behance, take a screenshot and then just upload it. Then use a prompt like build a landing page that looks exactly like this. The AI will use the image as a strong visual reference to generate the layout and styling. It avoids SLOP. And 21st.dev is really good as well. Or you can use Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, whatever it may be, to describe a screenshot and then ask it to create the prompt and then give the prompt to Lovable. The Figma to Lovable workflow, I personally don't use Figma, but for designers, if you guys like Lovable, if you guys like Figma, the platform offers an official integration path. So by using a plugin that is within Figma, you can actually just export the files from Figma straight to Lovable and it designs for you. Now, visuals are also invaluable for debugging. Again, don't just do one message for one debug, but if a UI element looks ugly or it's misaligned, you can take a screenshot of it inside the app and then say, fix this broken prompt, fix this broken layout, the box looks ugly, whatever it may be. And it's more accurate than trying to describe the visual discrepancy like with your voice, And again, batch this with other fixes. So requirement gathering, implementation, quality assurance, and iteration. The most successful users are those who internalize and follow this entire loop, right? So the platform's documentation explicitly promotes an adaptive, iterative approach and advises breaking work into smaller, manageable chunks. The very existence of the chat mode that I'm demanding that you guys use, it's designed to basically piggyback the entire process and make sure that you aren't just creating a slop of an app that doesn't make any sense. The planning and debugging phase of this cycle can be done inside chat for much cheaper, for much less credits. User failure stories, they often stem from treating the AI like this magic box. You just give it one big idea, or build me a Netflix clone. And then it's just a vague prompt, and they're expecting a perfect result because they think AI is further ahead than it actually is. It's extremely powerful AI, but it's not quite there that it can read your mind. You've got to explain what you want. the core features I use. So with visual edits, a key advantage of the visual edits is that it doesn't really cost much, right? Making direct changes to the input field, so changing the text or using the color picker or whatever it may be, is completely free. It doesn't consume any credits, right? It's important to note that if a user selects an element and then uses the associated prompt box within the tool to request a change, that action will actually consume the credits. Now, how to revert changes? There's automatic history, guys. So every change implemented by Lovable is automatically saved at its own unique version of the project, which is basically like this chronological log inside the chat interface. And you can just restore the past version. So users can click on the restore button, and the feature is invaluable for recovering from an error loop where the AI is just sort of like gone, in some kind of spiral and broken the app, which isn't regularly, but it sometimes happens. Now, the knowledge base, giving your AI a project-specific memory. So the knowledge base is this sort of tab within the project settings where users can input high levels, a sort of high-level persistent context and guidelines for what they want to build. It's like this shared memory. It's like a brain that the AI references during the interaction. So basically, you can add high-level goals, like this is what my app is going to do. User personas, design systems like color palettes or typography or fonts, whatever it may be, coding conventions, links to external APIs, and like the documentation. So inside my Twitter scheduler app that I built, it would have been good to put all of the API into the knowledge doc, because the definitions of those APIs will just be used like a brain. Now, to use the knowledge base, start small and add a few clear lines of direction and then slowly add to it. Don't just like copy paste a massive chunk of stuff into it, because it might not understand as well. This is sort of like a living document, and it should be kept up to date as the project evolves. And as you add more APIs, you add more this or more that, and basically defining user roles and their permissions and things like that, and how the back end is going to work. That's all important for the brain. And you can also add a doc in a file and then ask Lovable to reference the doc. But it's much easier to use this brain as known as the knowledge panel. Now, what actions cost credits? So basically, all AI-driven actions inside Lovable are paid for with credits, as you guys know. There's a variable cost in the agent and build mode. So when you're in the default build mode, the number of credits consumed is based on the complexity of the prompt. Like I said, a minor tweak, like changing a button's border radius, it might cost half a credit. But scaffolding an entire new page, or like a whole landing page or a whole dashboard, might consume 2 or more credits. In contrast, like I said, every credit in the chat mode is 1. So that's why you should always use it. Not all actions have a cost. So using the visual edits tool, like I said, is free. And some user reports indicate that using the try to fix button resolves bugs, often free of charge. The Pro and Business plan allows unused monthly credits to roll over, but only as much as the rolled over credits are capped at your monthly limit. So if your monthly limit is 100, it will roll over once to 200, but it won't roll over again to 300. Now, strategies for conserving credits and just crushing Lovable. This is what I do, guys, to build amazing apps. Plan outside Lovable. So before you even open the Lovable editor, draft and refine prompts in a free external tool like Gemini or Claude or a text editor, whatever it may be. This allows you to iterate on the logic and wording of your instructions without burning credits. So you're using something free to do most of the work before you even put it into Lovable. Once the prompt is perfected, copy and paste it, and it's done. Use chat mode for planning, like I said, because it's cheap. Use it to discuss the features with the AI, have it generate implementation plans, double check things, give its own opinion on what you need to do, and it's going to be much less expensive. Now, Lovable's not perfect. The single most cited and frustrating problem is the AI getting stuck in this kind of hallucinogenic like error loop where the AI attempts to fix a bug and then just makes more or introduces several new bugs, right? It doesn't do this as much anymore, but oh God, it used to, right? It can lead to this spiral where the application becomes broken and all while burning through your credits, and it is just a nightmare, right? However, you guys can just restore the project, and this is what the chat mode is for. You can just say, look, the guy in this review did not use the chat mode, right? And basically, you need to just plan these things and make sure that you don't burn through credits by just prompting mistakes over and over again. Some people say that the credits are too restrictive. The credits allocated in the paid plans can be consumed quickly if you're using like ridiculous prompts and you're in error loops, but just that's why you've got a plan, guys. Now, the phase 2 problem, prototypes or production, right? So particularly insightful analysis from a Reddit user, and a lot of Reddit users on the Lovable subreddit and the SAS subreddit, they talk about phase 1 being Lovable, like just Lovable being amazing for stage 1. So it's perfect for building MVPs, in other words. I couldn't get my words out then, sorry. The platform then faces phase 2, where users whose apps gain traction, they need to use other tools to scale beyond the MVP mode and actually get a robust application. So that's why it's good that Lovable doesn't like lock you in, because you need to outgrow the tool quite quickly, because it's not something that realistically you can build, an enterprise $100 million tool with. It's something that you build the bare bones for and the scaffolding and the skeleton. And then as people start paying you for what you've built, then you can obviously go to Cursor and potentially hire out that kind of thing. Now, Lovable Cloud has been introduced. I just avoid it. I turn it off in the settings and I just don't use it. I always use Supabase, because I think this is Lovable's way of trying to lock you into Lovable Cloud, because it's so hard to change databases when you've already set one up. Now, Lovable versus external IDEs, right? So Lovable is for scaffolding, like I said. You can build 80% of your application and it looks great and it works great and it works great with AI, with APIs, and you can use AI tools, all that kind of thing. But then for the remaining 20%, things looking beautiful, it being responsive on all devices, it being faster, it working with really complex APIs, debugging at a really granular level, external IDEs are better for this, like Cursor, okay? So Lovable and Replit are more like agents, and then Cursor is more like a real developer that sits with you and does the work with you. So just to cover this, guys, the criteria: primary use case, audience, speed to demo, code quality, ease of use, scalability. Lovable is a MVP builder. Bolt is an AI-assisted browser kind of thing. Replit is an AI-accelerated cloud. And then obviously, you've got Cursor, which is like a sort of mixture of the two, mixture of the three. Lovable is for non-tech founders. It's very high speed to demo. It's acceptable code quality. Sometimes it needs refactoring. It's very easy to use. And then it's easily extended and exported through GitHub. And obviously you guys can pause and look at the other ones. I don't use Bolt and I don't use Replit. I use Lovable and Cursor. Finally, the strengths and weaknesses. The strengths: unmatched speed for prototyping and MVP generation, highly accessible conversational interface for non-technical users. It's powerful and it's easy to integrate with Supabase and Stripe, and there's a commitment to user autonomy because you are owning all of the code. The weakness is that the credit-based pricing can become expensive, especially when you're in a bug loop. The AI is susceptible to getting stuck in these error loops and then hallucinating code. And that requires either reversing the project and going back to an older version inside the version history, or just exporting it and trying to fix it yourself with Cursor. There is a steep learning curve in prompt engineering, because I've gotten extremely good at prompting. But when I first started out, I was burning through credits and saying ridiculous things, and I just wasn't getting where I wanted to go. There's poor out-of-the-box SEO because it's mostly for single-page applications. So you need to create more like external blogs, and you need to do link building, and you need to potentially run it through more expensive IDEs to make sure that your SEO is on point, because Lovable is just giving you these tools out of the box, almost like an app out of the box, and it's much harder to optimize for SEO. The new features like Lovable Cloud raise concerns about vendor lock-in. So that's the end of the video, guys. If you guys have any questions at all, just let me know. But I use Lovable, I use Cursor, I've used Lovable for thousands of hours now. And if you have any questions at all, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. But thanks so much for watching, guys, and see you in the next video.